at E3, 𝐿𝐴NUMA was very clear, and Nintendo was very clear backing him up when he said this. Breath of the Wild 2, whatever it's going to be called, probably not Breath of the Wild 2, because they always, when a Zelda game has a sequel, they always change the title, like Ocarina of Time, Majora's Mask. It wasn't Ocarina of Time 2. Wind Waker and Phantom Hourglass. It wasn't Wind Waker 2. And then the only time they've actually sequelized the name is with the original, going to Zelda 2, which even that wasn't the same because it was the Hyrule Fantasy, and then it changed to just The Legend of Zelda. And then I think Zelda 2 isn't The Legend of Zelda, it's just Zelda 2. And then Triforce of the Gods and Triforce of the Gods 2 is the Japanese versions of A Link to the Past and A Link Between Worlds. So Japan may have Breath of the Wild 2, but they could change it. But we have a rumor that we're going to be discussing after this segment. So stay tuned for it if you want to hear what a rumored possible title for Breath of the Wild 2 is going to be. But for now, we're going to be talking about 𝐿𝐴NUMA and Nintendo's statement on Breath of the Wild 2. Whatever it ends up being called, how is it going to be the darkest Zelda game? They compared it not to Twilight Princess, which I would think is maybe a bit darker than Majora's Mask, but they compared it directly to Majora's Mask. Probably because in that game, if you stand around and do nothing, everyone dies. Whereas in Twilight Princess, if you stand around and do nothing, nothing really happens. Like the story progresses with you. Whereas Majora's Mask, the story progresses whether or not you are doing anything. Like the story is going, the moon is falling. It's not up to you. Whereas in Twilight Princess, it is up to you. Like, yeah, Twilight's taking over everywhere, but like if you just stand still and go fishing or something, nothing bad's going to happen during that waiting time. But waiting around in Majora's Mask, it is. So do you think there's going to be some kind of mechanic like that to where like that's how it's going to be darker? Like there's going to be, I want to say a precipice? Is that a word? A precipice?
They did mean it is a word, but I don't know if is that the right context.
I don't know, but I think there's going to be like, yeah, a president. Like there's going to be something to where it's like you have to do this before this time, or else this happens. Like think of Breath of the Wild. Like
Breath of the Wild, you could really do anything though, or you could do nothing really if you wanted to.
Well, think about this, okay? So Zelda's like, hey, you got to go to Kakariko Village, talk to this old lady. And you're like, okay. But then you can just like hop around and do whatever you want. But at least I did. You just like run around and like keep pressing Y or X, whichever button it is, have Link just hop all over. So like you just hop around, do whatever you want, and then you can get there whenever. It doesn't really matter unless you want to progress the story. But what if it was there's something coming to attack this village? Like imagine Kakariko Village just gets rebuilt, but there's a divine beast heading towards it, and it'll be there within a week for some reason. So if you can't stop that divine beast before this certain time, then this town will be destroyed. Maybe something like that. That's the only way I can imagine it being darker, is like giving you a specific time limit before you can do something.
Yeah, I mean, I took the statement to be more not necessarily the game's mechanics, but more so just the tone, because like Twilight Princess is a dark game comparatively to some of the other Zelda games, but I feel like Majora's Mask.
Have you played Minish Cap? That is the darkest. No, that's like the most joyful. Triforce Heroes.
Dude, Triforce Heroes.
But I do feel like Majora's Mask is probably the darker of the two, just because. Not even just because of the 3D mechanic, although that helps.
Xavier. It's Luke and Jesse at the same time. Sorry, we're interrupting. I'm going to mute my microphone because I'm an arse.
Okay. That's why I love you, though. But it's more of a psychological dark side, whereas Twilight Princess is like, oh, big bad guy, he's got a creepy mouth, and he's like, helmet opens, and, you know, like just that kind of like weird darkness. But like,
weird.
in Majora's Mask, it's a very, if you look at like the game's visuals, it's unlike Twilight Princess. It's very dark and colorful. Or Twilight Princess is very dark and muted. Majora's Mask is very bright and colorful, but it's a much more psychological sort of dark feel.
Daniel was talking. No, you're breathtaking. We're not going to keep doing that and interrupting. Sorry.
Okay.
Also, we are sponsored by 𝐴𝐴.
Oh yeah, that's a chair.
Yeah.
They're very comfy.
Yeah.
But yes, Zelda.
I want one of those chairs.
The
Do you live in Canada?
I my bit, really.
That's going to be a problem.
Is it? Is that going to be a problem?
If he lives in Canada.
Oh no. Yeah, that's true. Oh, for 𝐴𝐴, you mean?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's true.
All right. So Daniel.
Jesse.
I love you.
Zelda.
What? Yeah. Zelda.
Aww.
What? No.
So,
who said something?
what? You? I heard that.
There's gonna be people watching the edited version of this that goes on YouTube, like, talk about the story of Breath of the Wild 2. Don't talk about you loving each other.
Stop.
That's so...
I can't help it. I look into Jesse's big, beautiful eyes.
Xavier says you guys should
Makes me
cherish
feel
them.
You do.
Finally, the damn link. Oh, we can't say bad words on here. Sorry.
No.
Finally,
bad
the
words.
D link to the live stream kept taking me back to the recorded segment of the. Sorry, gamer bud. There was some issues that we had, so we're only streaming to YouTube right now. Everyone watching that would watch on Twitch, we're only on YouTube, not on my personal Facebook, which I thought was a fun idea. He has a wife. We all have wives in the future.
No, I have one right now.
Oh.
So
future
hey,
you doesn't have a wife?
Probably.
All right.
Probably
Also,
does.
also to explain it before we officially begin again, at the bottom it says support with super chat. So what that means, we usually have the Zelda mailbag is how we end the podcast. There's so many people that like ask questions during the show, especially like right now it's fine. We only have like 18, 20 people watching, but sometimes it gets up to like 50, 60, upwards to 100 sometimes. And everyone is asking questions. We obviously can't stop what we're talking about and answer a question because that would be unprofessional. So we save the best questions and remember the questions that you guys post to answer last. And if you guys really want your question answered, you'll save them and not post them and just post them at the end when we officially begin the Zelda mailbag. Then you can get your question answered. But if you give us a super chat, even if it's a penny, like just 1 penny, we will stop what we're talking about and answer your question or talk about like a little mini theory, just like say, oh, yeah, that's cool. This is what would happen, blah, blah, blah. So we left off. Daniel was talking about what kind of shampoo he uses for his back hair.
What? What back hair?
What?
No, continue, Daniel. Sorry.
Oh yes, so Dove mostly.
No.
Oh,
You have to shave it. The answer's nothing. Get it waxed.
Get it waxed, yeah, like Steve
Yeah,
Carell.
whack.
Right. Legend of Zelda is a video game.
Yeah. So how's it going to be
That's
dark?
what I heard.
How's it going to be dark?
So I think it's just
They're
going
going to turn the lights out.
Yeah, exactly.
They're
Pretty
gonna-
much that.
they're gonna-
though. Like
They're going to
gonna
turn
be-
the contrast on the TV. You know,
you turn it
just
down.
turn it down. Yeah.
Yeah.
Daniel,
exactly.
show us your back hair. Irish.
There's nothing to show. There's nothing to show.
If you get it, you have to shave it, or get it waxed or something.
And you pluck each individual one with tweezers.
Unless you get lucky, and you get a girl that for some reason likes body hair on a guy, then maybe it'll work out. But it's like it's kind of odd, you know.
Yep.
But then again, I'm the type of person that's like go on a date with Paya. Is that her name?
Yeah.
Yeah. The girl that likes Link.
One of many.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was gonna say there's like 10 girls in Breath of the Wild that like Link.
Yeah, that's why Breath of the Wild's going to be dark. He has a relationship with all of those girls at the same time, and they all find out. Yeah, and it's like the Triforce isn't going to save you this time.
And then all of the girls fight Ganon at the same time to win his heart.
No, and then like they're all so.
We all know who's the most powerful, and that's the flower.
No, see, they're also mad at Link, right? And they're all like attacking him and stuff, and he's like begging the goddesses for help. And then Sidon walks in and is like, "Hey, girls," and then they're all like, "Who? Link? Who? What?"
Who?
Oh, I thought you were gonna say Tingle walks in.
Oh
like,
no! No, they couldn't handle Tingle.
No, they couldn't handle.
They named an entire island after him. All right, Daniel, seriously, go. Why do you keep getting off topic?
Yeah, that's me. That's my bad. But yes, Twilight Princess has a a literal dark palette to it, like when you're looking at the game. So it's dark in that way, but also it is more just like creepy visuals and things like that makes it darker. But the overall like tone of it is pretty just like it hits all the sort of Zelda notes. It doesn't really do anything extra out of its way to be like creepier or weirder than any other Zelda game, really.
Yeah, the only thing I can think of is like kidnapping the kid, right?
Yeah, but that happens in Wind Waker, right?
Oh yeah.
Like 3 kids get kidnapped in Wind Waker,
but you don't really see them get kidnapped. Like on this one, it's like the girl's like hanging on a pole or whatever.
True.
So maybe that, I don't know.
So I mean it's just
maybe it just got the teen rating just because it looked realistic.
I think that's what it is. Is it just because of the visuals? Is a lot of people are like, it's such a dark game, but really, I feel like it's not really that much darker than any other Zelda game. Majora's Mask, on the other hand, I do feel like is darker, and not the time mechanics that you mentioned aid that feeling, but it's really just the weird stuff in that game is what makes it darker, because it's not just. Like, if you look at the game, unlike Twilight Princess, it doesn't have a dark palette. Like, it's very bright and colorful. But then there's just all this weird dark stuff. And it also helps that the villain in the game isn't just, I'm an evil guy who is evil for no reason. He's like a tortured soul who's corrupted by, mysterious power. And there's a ton of unanswered questions and, stuff like that. So it's I feel like darker for different reasons, and so I think when Aonuma is comparing it to that, I don't necessarily think that he's going to say like you've got a time limit or you've got 72 hours to beat this game or something like that, but more just that this is going to be, the same bright aesthetic maybe as the first Breath of the Wild.
Yeah, well, we already seen the aesthetic. Like the way it
exactly.
looks.
But it's gonna be feeling more claustrophobic, and it's gonna have a psychological element to it that's a lot creepier. There's gonna be just some weird stuff that's gonna get under your skin.
In the chat, I'm sorry for interrupting you, but while it's here, before more people comment and it gets taken away, Gus, who is if this is the same Gus, he's actually a new Patreon supporter, and I think he's a Patreon supporter of you as well.
He is Gus Laz.
Yeah, yes. So I don't know if he's doing both of us. I'm not sure. But anyways, he says Majora's Mask deals with a lot of death, or it deals with death a lot. So maybe that could be what Aonuma's referring to. Like main characters end up dying.
Could be, because it's not even just that there's a lot of death and that like the moon's gonna fall, and if it does, everyone's gonna die. Like there's like Darmani, who dies right in front of you. Deku Butler's son dies off screen. Mikau dies in front of you. Like you pull him out of the water and then he walks 2 steps and then collapses and dies.
Yeah, that's probably the most tragic.
Yeah, and then the people that are already dead, you're having to literally put their souls to rest.
Yeah.
And you don't see that in Twilight Princess or any of the other darker Zelda games.
Yeah. So the way that I was thinking about it relating to Breath of the Wild, sorry Luke, I'm talking really fast so hopefully I can get over it, is think about some of the older characters like Impa, who's already like 120 something or 130, however old she is. So imagine something happening to her to where she actually die. So like in Twilight Princess, there's the scene where I think the Zora is like sick and ill, and like you have to carry his body or take his body to the doctor for whatever reason. Maybe there's a situation like that to where 𝐴MPA gets sick or cursed with something, like how the Great Deku Tree got cursed and died, and you just can't save her. Like if she was younger, then yes, you would have been able to save her because her body would have been, you know, more fit and ready and stuff. But at her old age, where her body was already shutting down anyways, there's nothing that you can do. So maybe it's a situation like that. And Zelda, 𝐴MPA being the one who is the caretaker for Zelda, kind of like, you know, Batman and his butler, I guess, if that's a good comparison.
Sure.
Yeah, like Bruce Wayne and Alfred. I don't know. I was thinking like that, like how Alfred takes care of Bruce Wayne and everything. He comes in, he's got the scars on his back and stuff, and it's Alfred's job to like clean him up and heal him, stitch him back together. Maybe it's the same thing with Zelda. Not as brutal, but like 𝐴MPA takes care of Zelda, and like there's that relationship, and we've seen the relationship before, like in the older Zelda games, where like Ocarina of Time, 𝐴MPA is Zelda's caretaker as well, and they have such a close relationship that Zelda herself ends up becoming Sheik as like a way out of respect for everything she learned from the Sheikah tribe and 𝐴MPA. So there's always been that close relationship no matter what the game is. We didn't really see it in Breath of the Wild, but you assume it's there based off of common sense, really. So my thought is, what if there's a scene where it's like Zelda and she's like crying or whatever, it's like a really sad moment because 𝐴MPA's dying and there's nothing, like maybe you go on a quest to get a potion or something, like a certain crystal or rune, a fairy of some kind, because fairies bring you back from the dead. I don't know, I'm trying to think like Zelda logic. Like you try to get something to help bring her back to life, you get it and you come back, but it still doesn't work because she's just so old.
Now, I always understood it that with fairies, it doesn't actually bring you back to life. It just brings you back from the brink of death. Like if you're already dead, you can't use a fairy to bring someone back to life. But if you are dying, then the fairy will bring you back to a non-dying state. That's always how my understanding was.
Yeah.
Like if it's your last hit and you're about to die, that last hit, the fairy will kick in and heal you. But
well, anyways, to end what I was saying, that's basically what I was saying, is like seeing the person literally die on screen in front of you, and then Zelda crying over her body and everything, like she's on the bed or something like that, like we had with the Zora kid in Twilight Princess.
Wait a minute. If they just had some fairies, they wouldn't have needed to put Link in the Shrine of Resurrection.
Yeah. But what do you guys think? Like, I think it could be something like that, where like it's dealing with death and tragedy and loss a bit more. Like in Breath of the Wild, everything was already gone, destroyed and stuff, but now it's rebuilt, and although Hyrule's rebuilt, the people that lived through it are now at the end of their lives. Yeah. So that's
Luke,
basically my thoughts. So Luke, you go ahead and give your thoughts. You haven't spoken at all.
Yeah, I'm
just
gonna
speak.
Just kind of here.
Nice. Back to you, Daniel.
All right.
All right. All right. So I do think. Okay. First of all, before I say anything, I just want to say that Darmani, you don't actually watch him die.
True.
He's already dead. You just heal his soul.
Yeah.
Because he's like, it's kind of like the hero shade where you ease his regrets, and you take his form and put him to ease by fulfilling what he wanted to do. But anyways, I think in terms of like the darkest Zelda game, I think it could possibly be maybe like Majora's Mask, because when you were talking about how like maybe a timer based, it made me think like maybe like Ganondorf is coming back and you only have so long before his power fully reawakens and destroys Hyrule or something like that. But like maybe for like the darkest Zelda game, like they could really go all out with it. Like maybe like minimal. Okay, obviously like cursing doesn't make a game darker, but like it'd be weird to have a Zelda game with cursing. But if they wanted to do it, That would be weird, but I could maybe see it with the right characters and design and stuff like that, like possibly, because since Nintendo's trying to just reinvent the Zelda name, that would be, I guess, something they could try. There's a lot of different ways Nintendo could pull off a Dark Zelda game, because they've already tried to do the edginess with Twilight Princess. They've done the psychological, like you said, psychological time limit with Majora's Mask. And then they could also do anything related to just like morbid stuff. Like they could totally have just like a random colony of enemies just go into, you can like watch this in the gameplay, just watch a colony go into a village and kill people, and you can see like everyone laying there on the ground dead, like women, children, and the soldiers and everything. Like that would be pretty dark for a Zelda game. We've never had a Zelda game where you see people die. Usually it's like it's off screen or it's implied. So actually seeing stuff like that would be crazy for a Zelda game.
Right.
And if it had a direct connection to Link, it would also really help with his character development as a person in the games. Because I think now with the new Zelda formula, because Link is not nameable anymore, I think they're trying to get rid of that connection between the player and the character you play as, and they're trying to make Link more like a Western video game character, where he's got character development, he's got flaws and stuff, and you relate to him that way rather than just being that Link. They're trying to modernize him, and I think that's pretty cool.
I agree. It's something I did misspeak there when I said Darmani, but 𝐴𝐽 definitely does die in front of you.
Yeah, he
Xavier in the chat mentioned as well, the champions are dead in Breath of the Wild as well. So it's not like there's no death in Zelda. That, of course, wasn't what I meant to say. But the way Breath of the Wild deals with death versus the way Majora's Mask does, it has a very different tone. It's a lot less somber. Because even still, like when you meet the champions, their spirits aren't plagued with regrets. They're like, no, I'm still ready to just carry out my mission, and then I'll be at peace, and that's it, right? And then they still just help you out, right? It's not like they are plagued with all these regrets and you have to like help them move on and come to peace with their own death and stuff like that. They just do that naturally after completing their mission to help you defeat Calamity Ganon. And even still, like, it sucks all your friends are dead. But it's also the way that just the overall tone of it, it just doesn't have that somber note where in Majora's Mask, when, say, again, probably my favorite example, when, 𝐴𝐽 dies, Link basically holds a funeral for him right there.
He does, yeah. He uses the
guitar. And then even with Darmani as well, like, again, he has got this grave thing, and you go, and Darmani has this whole visual, like his life kind of flashes before his eyes, and he sees Goron's cheering for him, and kind of comes to peace with it. And even though it's like, okay, he's put them to rest now and everything's okay, there's just the whole scene has like aided very much by the Song of Healing and how good a song that is, but it's just got such a somber tone in comparison to it. It's one of those moments where it's the first time you do it, you're like, you just have to like take a moment playing it. Where in Breath of the Wild, I never felt like, oh man, like I never had that somber feeling knowing that they were dead. I was just like, oh, okay, hey, there's Mipha's ghost, and cool. Now she's still gonna continue helping me with, and even still, they park the Divine Beast, and then you use their power, and she pops up, her spirit, and is like, yeah, you're healed, buddy, you're all good. Like, there just doesn't have that element of that somber element of just like, and even though in both cases you're dealing with people's spirits and stuff like that, and then there's all this fantastical settings, Majora's Mask, the death in that game feels so much more real, even though there's like fewer smaller scale deaths to it. It feels more personal and more real, I guess. Just something. So that makes me worry because of all the death and stuff, if Breath of the Wild 2 is supposed to be darker than Majora's Mask, who is 𝐴𝐽𝐻𝐼 killing?
Oh, no.
Like Jesse said 𝐴𝐴𝐼, which I wouldn't feel too bad about because I don't feel like you get super attached to 𝐴𝐴𝐼 in the first game.
Well, I would say characters
in and
like
gives you-
𝐴𝐴𝐼. Like it wouldn't be emotional
you walk in
to
and
us.
She's like, "Oh, Link, you're finally awake.
Yeah.
Are you ready for exposition?"
It wouldn't be spoilers for us, but it would be not spoilers. Sorry, someone said spoilers in the chat. I don't know. Like,
it's not spoilers because we don't know. We're speculating.
But like, it wouldn't be that sad to us. Like maybe hardcore Zelda fans that have 𝐴𝐴𝐼 as their favorite characters, but with like, if you look at that moment through the eyes of Zelda,
right?
Like, she was trapped for 100 years. She finally gets released to live her life, to fix everything. And, like, a few months later, like, tragedy happens. And, like, how the Great Deku Tree got poisoned and died, there's nothing you can do. Maybe something similar happens to...
Maybe, but they'd have to write it really well, because even now, like, I would still feel more sad about Darmani dying, who's a character you didn't already know. You meet him and he's already dead. That would feel sad.
What about
if Mipha died? Or
who's the young Goron?
𝐴𝐴𝐼.
Who's the young Goron that Joe does the voice for?
Yunobo,
yeah. Like, what if it's someone like Yunobo dying?
It depends how they write it, though, because if they write it the same, like, I'll say it, Daruk's my favorite champion. I've said it before.
He already did.
But he's already dead. But him finding out he's dead, I wasn't like, oh my god, I'm like moved by this, I was just like, okay, it's just part of the story. So they'd have to write it in a very different way than they do for Daruk and the other champions,
Like if they killed off like the new champions or whatever, like Yunobo,
like Riju and Sidon and
Riju, Sidon, and the Rito one.
Teva.
Teva. Yeah, that'd be interesting. And also it made me wonder, when you were talking about the Song of Healing, it got me thinking, I wonder if the reason Link never healed, because when he became the hero Shade, he was full of regret and stuff. I wonder if he got desensitized from the power of the song, and that's why he couldn't like be at ease or something.
Yeah,
because he learned it and he played it for all these other people and he helped out all these other people, but in that path he got desensitized from the power of the song, and when it was time for him to be at ease, he couldn't
move on.
He couldn't move on. He couldn't carry on the wayward son.
In the chat, RPG says, Sidon must go. No.
Sidon must go.
He's got to go. No, then we can grind him all over.
Do you have Instagram?
I do.
What is it?
Is it Hylian Luke?
It is Hylian.
Spoilers. Oh my god.
You can follow me?
But
all right, everyone that has Instagram, follow me on Instagram, Hylian.Luke.
No, I'm sharing it to get Instagram people to like come over. So that's what I've been doing. I've been sharing it on Facebook groups and everything.
Yeah, I saw you tagged me one time with my personal one, and I was like, "Yikes! Don't do that."
Whoops!
On Facebook?
No, on Instagram.
Okay.
You have multiple Instagrams now?
Yeah, I have my personal one and I have my YouTube one.
I see. I'm learning things. I'm learning.
I'm gonna like watch my Instagram now and see if I get any followers.
What? None.
Okay, so besides death, what do you think could happen?
Probably just some weird stuff. I mean, that's the thing as well, is that part of what's dark about Termina is that it's just things just feel a bit off, and I think in part of that, the soundtrack is really good. I mentioned this in an old video I made, where you listen to like thematically similar areas. I think the comparison I made in that old video Ocarina of Time's Lake Hylia and Majora's Mask's Great Bay they serve the same function in their respective games, right? But you listen to the soundtrack for those two areas, and you get the remixed area theme in Majora's Mask that has this just distorted organ sound, and it's just got a much darker feel to it because of that. But also just it's not just, oh, the lake's drained or whatever. It's just like things just feel kind of off. That's like Zoras are just dying because the water's warming up and it's all polluted or whatever it is.
Yeah.
In there. It's a global warming. And I don't know. But they can't catch fish. They're gonna starve to death, that kind of thing. And it's like it's again hitting kind of similar notes that previous Zelda games have hit, but for some reason, just the way it's executed just has such a more a heavier impact,
Yeah. So the just taking the dark part literal.
Mm-hmm.
What about like if they add in a dark world version of Hyrule? Like
again, we see him in a dark cave.
Yeah, we did have like the sacred, which is weird because the Sacred Realm is completely different than Hyrule. Like it's a different realm. Like that's where the Chamber of Sages is and the Temple of Light, everything, all that nonsense. Like that's there. In the Sacred Realm. But then the Sacred Realm gets turned into the Dark World, but when it's turned into the Dark World, for some reason it goes from looking like the Sacred Realm should look to being like a dark, corrupted mirror image of Hyrule. So it went from looking one way to looking another way. Well,
do we know what it looked before it was corrupted though? Like what if it would look like a really like a bomb awesome version of Hyrule? Like what if someone lived in the Sacred Realm and went to Hyrule, they were like, is this the Dark World? Like this looks so bad compared to the Sacred Realm. Like they could have already been a mirror world in this, right?
Possibly. Ooh. But like it never actually says what it looked like, so I always imagined it looked like just like when you think of like a really holy place that's like it's a realm created by the gods for the gods.
Yeah.
Like
so my
Hyrule is a realm created by the gods for Hylians.
Yes.
Like little who cares about these little pests?
These little peons.
But this place is built for them to worship us. This place is built for us to whatever.
Yeah. Now, I always figured the Silent Realm and Skyward Sword, for something in my head, always made it click that was like almost the Sacred Realm and Hyrule, or the surface, and it wasn't called Hyrule yet, but those two planes of existence overlapping.
Yeah.
And that's what the Silent Realm, those trials in Skyward Sword were. And that was because I always thought it was just kind of like a dream world in Link's head. But then when, spoilers, near the end of the game, when you actually obtain the Triforce, you go briefly into the Silent Realm and get the Triforce from there. But that makes no sense because the Triforce is in the Sacred Realm. So, and those rooms where you get the Triforce in the Silent Realm look suspiciously like the Sky Keep. That's what the dungeon's called, Sky Keep. Yes. Yeah, like rooms in that, and also like what we've seen of artwork of the Sacred Realm in other places with the very sort of like Greek architecture pillars and stuff like that. So I always felt like that part, he actually crossed into the Sacred Realm when he got the Triforce in that game. And the other times when he went into the Silent Realm, it was just sort of these two planes, sort of this overlap between them.
Yeah,
that
like
he crossed into.
So the Twilight Realm, but the Twilight Realm is a completely different area than Hyrule. But in Twilight Princess, like when you go into the Twilight, you're not going into the Twilight Realm. It's overlapped, like the Twilight is overlapping, like overtaking Hyrule. So that's the same as what you're talking about.
Yeah, it's kind of similar. Like it's not, but the thing is, only Link's spirit can cross over into that overlap, which is why he has to go do those trials.
Yeah. What's up with your camera?
Right? What do you mean?
Like it keeps like shutting off and coming back on. Have you not noticed?
I don't know.
Thanos is here.
No. I don't know. What's up. I didn't notice.
But I think that's a good idea though. But like continuing with it is like
theory time.
going like if they added in like we already know what Hyrule looks like and everything, but if they did just flip it on its side, and just like the Silent Realm was a mirror copy, whatever, of Hyrule, the Dark World was a mirror copy, whatever. Lowrule looked very suspiciously like the Dark World, but it wasn't the Dark World.
But we know that Lowrule looked different before they destroyed their Triforce, right? Yeah. And then it became dark. It became dark. It became like a dark world.
So, do you think a new version of whatever the new type of dark world, like whatever the second version is, do you think it's going to be like the Sacred Realm, like the corrupted Sacred Realm coming back and like you going to it, or do you think they would have a brand new dark world just for this game?
As I would love to go back to the dark world, but I feel like knowing Nintendo, it'll just be like a new place.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like they've always had that.
Even Lowrule, they could have had it in that game and been like, yes, we go back to the dark world, but they made it a new place.
That way they could have the
weirdly similar, but
yeah, they could keep all of the same geography and major architecture and stuff. Like all of the major areas in the new dark world is going to be where all the major areas are, except Breath of the Wild's Hyrule.
The mountain has snow on it now.
Yeah,
and that's how you know Lowrule is different.
The lake will be flooded, or like the desert area will just be like a giant swamp area or something. Maybe Twin Peaks will be like a giant pyramid or something. The dueling peaks, like stuff like that. They could come up with some really cool ideas, and that would save a lot of time to where they don't have to create an entirely new world. They can just do like a quick re-edit of this world, and then they can even make the world like they already have the lighting and everything for it. Like whenever the sun, the blood moon comes up, and the air has like a dark reddish purple light to it, like everything
all those
is
little particle effects. And
they could have they could reuse that idea of the blood moon coming, but when the blood moon comes, instead of it resetting everything, because there's no point to that because Ganon's dead now supposedly, so when the blood moon comes, it's not the blood moon, it's something else that they made up for the game story, whatever,
right?
And like when it comes, it takes you to the dark world. So like that's your way to get in and out, is like whenever the moon shifts or whatever.
Oof, then sounds like it'll be hard, but then it'll be hard to access.
Yeah, and then like halfway through the game, you get something that lets you travel between the two on your own. So I don't know.
Beans, man.
Like maybe every 3 days it shifts or something. I don't know. But Luke, do you have any more ideas? Because I'm done with this topic, so we can move on to the rest.
Give us your ideas so we can steal them.
Yeah, I was gonna say there was something I was gonna say. When you guys were talking about like the more different things about the Dark World, it made me think like, what if the reason it's a Dark Zelda game is because instead of psychological or just edgy darkness, it's dark through illusion. And the entire game, you
Link's
think
tripping.
He's just on massive acid.
It's all those mushrooms that he put in his food.
Those Hylian shrooms.
It's all those Hylian shrooms that he put.
Do you guys see my shirt?
Hey, that's so cool.
It's me and Layla. She has a shirt like it. Hey guys, do you see my shirt?
Can I buy one?
if you want.
Can I buy you?
$80.
A drink?
$80 and you can take me to dinner at Olive Garden and buy me chicken Alfredo.
I call it salad. Okay, go ahead.
Go on.
Yeah, okay, seriously, go on. I'm gonna go get a drink real quick. So
he doesn't want to listen to you.
Earlier I said I was already done. I gave all of my ideas, so
He's rudely leaving again.
And thank you, Gus. It is a cool shirt.
How shrewd. Okay.
Shrewd.
Jesse, shrewd.
But I want to hear your idea. Now that he's gone, you can talk. Finally.
Is that Ivysaur? What is he doing?
So yeah, he's putting like a little Bulbasaur up there. He's just.
Is that Bulbasaur?
I don't know. It's hard to tell. It's like half cut off. Yeah, he doesn't have the big leaves. He's Bulbasaur. Why is he? Thought he was going to the bathroom. What are you doing, Jesse?
What is happening? Oh my goodness.
He's gonna be editing this.
Oh my gosh. We got a donation from Dragonfist 900.
Yeah, do you think Breath of the Wild 2 will be darker than Majora's Mask was? Well, that's kind of what we're talking about right now, Dragonfist. But according to 𝐴𝐽𝐻𝐿, who you might know as the Zelda Man, he's kind of
the Zelda Man.
He is the Zelda guy. He's the guy, man.
The guy.
He said it was. That's what he said. He was in interviews. He said it's going to be dark. It's going to be darker than Majora's Mask, even. And they're like, "Wow, that's what spawned this whole discussion."
Yeah.
So yeah, I like to take him at his word, except for when I don't.
So yeah, I was thinking, like, what if it's it's dark through illusion, and you think the whole story, you think everything's going like in this one direction, and then somewhere in like the plot twist of the story, it takes like this 270-degree turn, and then like Link or Zelda like lose a limb or something. Like it'd be in this. Yeah, wouldn't that be crazy?
Well, there's concept art for the first game where Link had a Sheikah tech prosthetic hand as well.
Yeah. And I was like also thinking about that because I was like, in Breath of the Wild 2 teaser, we see Link's like right arm, his sword arm, gets possessed by that green energy, and it's probably an evolution of that concept where he had his arm be the weapon for all the items and stuff. So I wonder if that's gonna be the thing, and he'll use his sword with his left hand instead, so that it kind of shows how he becomes left-handed, maybe.
Or really like Lefty Link.
I want Left Link back. Like I loved 𝐷𝐻𝐿 𝐷𝐻𝐿 explanation for Breath of the Wild Link being right-handed. He was like, you push the B button with your right thumb or something like that.
It's never been a problem before for like 30 years.
It's never been a problem.
Like 30 years and no one complained. No one was playing A Link to the Past and was like, man, I can't believe I'm pressing B with my right thumb and
he's left-handed. What is this?
What the heck? And I can't believe he doesn't.
Oh, Geek is in the chat.
Ooh, Geek Apprentice.
Geek Apprentice, the banana.
Yeah. Sorry, can only be here for a moment. Need to go to bed. Hi, y'all. Have a great podcast. Thank you, Geek.
Thank you.
Say hi to Squirtle.
I'm just not even gonna. But
Jesse, that's really hot.
But yeah, I like the idea of like exploring more where this energy being absorbed into his hand goes, because I even think like they could do something really cool with that where it's have you ever seen, what's that movie called? Princess Mononoke? Am I thinking of the right one where the guy's hand gets like corrupted? Yeah, or even Metroid Prime 3, where she gets like a bit of the radiation poisoning from Phazon, and then slowly it builds up in her system more. So we could see something like that where this energy starts corrupting him more and more throughout the game, and I don't know. It could be cool.
Yeah, that would be cool. Also, RPG said in the chat, so you either have a sword or the shield. And
no,
that's where I think it would be really cool, because if you had the energy filled like hand or whatever, you could pull a Doctor Strange and just form a shield with like your energy, and then like you have the Master Sword in the other hand, and then that'd be really. I think that'd be really cool because then you could use Link's like magical hand to make all the items, and instead of getting items in the games, instead you get like maybe spell books or something, and it teaches Link how to use the magic in his hand to create the items. So he can create like a hookshot like item where the magic kind of reaches out and he can pull himself with the magic.
I like it.
Hold on.
Or like a defense spell.
I posted something in like a geeky Facebook group that I go to, and it was saying, we are discussing all of the new Zelda Breath of the Wild 2 news and rumors on the podcast. Because a lot of the people in there are already fans of the podcast. The first comment, I don't think he quite understood something. And he says, I think I can whip up a Zelda story, but when is the deadline? Also, what's the pay rate? And then someone commented to it, or replied, and said, these are important questions. Do we send stories directly to the princess, or does she use Submittable? And I'm like...
I think the second person is trolling the first person.
Yeah, well...
Which Facebook group did you put this in? Which...
Let me go look. It was weird.
It the podcast one?
No. It's one that I go to and talk to a bunch of people. It's called Horror, Paranormal, Mystery, Sci-Fi.
Okay, I'm gonna find it.
And then you're gonna troll on it.
I just gotta see.
Anyway,
you need
gotta see.
All right, let's get rid of Squirtle here.
All right. Are we moving on?
I guess.
Yeah, we can move on.
We've been on this same topic for a bit now, but anyway, it's going to be dark, is what we're trying to.
All right, 43 minutes. Can you write that down, Daniel? Put it on the Discord
43. Oh wait, yeah. Hang on, I'll type it.
Yeah.
43 minutes. Luke, why'd you type that?
I was faster.
Okay.
Speed run. Okay.
You'll be speed running, typing in our Google Doc or our Discord chat. So
my microphone's being weird.
Our next topic, Sir Jesse, is it? Are we doing number 2 here? Kind of laughable news. I guess it kind of actually this is a good segue into that. Speaking of Breath of the Wild news and rumors, that's what we're talking about on our other topic as well.
Yeah. Wait, do you want to do this one, or do you want me to do it?
Rumors. Sure. Well, it's up to you, man.
Rumors.
What do you want to do?
Jesse. I'll read it out.
All right.
So.
And comment below to let us know what type of videos you would like to see us create in the future. And if you would really like to support all of us here at the Game Over Jesse channel, please consider purchasing a Game Over Jesse t-shirt or becoming a Patreon at patreon.com/GameOverJesse, where you can receive many rewards, such as getting shoutouts, having any topic or theory that you select discussed on the podcast or made into its own video, having your question answered, joining on as a guest on the podcast, and playing with us during our Twitch live streams at twitch.tv/GameOverJesse, and much, much more.